My name is Dick Galgano, and I'm with Windy City Wire. I've been coming down to the university now about 5 or 6 years. I'm pretty familiar with a lot of the folks in the Career Center and a lot of the folks over in the College of Business, so I get through the whole school fairly well. I think that the one thing I'd like to come up with is that I hope that most of you folks will not be like the young guy who goes in for his first job. And the manager of the store comes up to him and says, "Good afternoon, John. I'm glad that you're here. Now your first job is going to be to sweep out the floor." And he hands him a broom. And the young man looks at him a little bit and says, "I'm a college graduate." He says, "Oh, I'm sorry. Give me the broom back. I'll show you how to do it." So remember that you got to be that step ahead all the time. Don't get caught up in those types of things. We have expanded the program a little bit this year. Last year, the program simply covered what I truly needed to do or not do to ensure that my interview was successful. Based on the economy today and the more difficulty we have in getting jobs and coming up with positions and getting interviews, things of this nature, we decided to tack on to the front end how to hunt for that job and spend a few minutes doing that. How do I get an interview? Very, very, very important, because if we don't have the interview, we're just sort of caught flat. Now, if you look at that sheet I gave you there, right up on the front, the very first page, it talks about networking, 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 networking. Networking is important. It's not as difficult as we think it is. For example, right now, just on a quick count, there's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 15, 17, 18, 19. I count about 20, 21 folks here right now. And you have a common thread. What's the common thread? The common thread is that you all are listening to this pitch this evening. That provides you a common thread. If you took a list of names of all the folks that are here, which they now have, because as you came in, you swiped your card, right? And if you had from each one of those people 5 names of people you didn't know, 5 names, 5 telephone numbers, 5 contacts. Now all of a sudden I have 150 contacts that I didn't have prior to that period of time. Very, very, very important. They just multiply faster than you can believe. Now, what do those contacts do for me? As I said on that front sheet, they help me to get to job positions that are hidden. Because 80% of what's out here, as it says, are hidden jobs. And through networking, I have a great opportunity to get an insight into those hidden jobs. As it says up there right now, you can get your insight into jobs that are recycled. I've now had a promotion in the company that puts an opening down here, and my friend knows about that opening. He tells me I can apply. There are other facets of all types of jobs that become available that appear to be hidden, but they truly are not. It's a false front that we think is there, okay? Referrals. How many people have you heard of that got a job because somebody they know or knew told them there was an opening? It happens all the time. It happens all the time. Okay? So we get things through word of mouth. Great. Now, where else can we get this network expanded? Let me ask you a question, guys. How many varying organizations, student organizations, do you think there are on campus here? Anybody think there's at least 100? 200 maybe? I can tell you this. I went through 6 categories and found 116 different organizations in just 6 categories. There are 11 other categories that I didn't go into. Now, no one's going to belong to 200 clubs or organizations, but is it reasonable that I belong to 1 or 2? I should be associating with people on campus. My interaction in one of those organizations can bring me multiple insights into job potentials and availabilities. I need to take advantage of those opportunities. It is very, very basic that we come through here. Let me come back and throw another one at you. Guys, throw some of the new website, interactive ones to me. Anybody got it? Isn't there one out here called? Which? Facebook. Another one called?
LinkedIn.
Pardon?
LinkedIn.
LinkedIn, yes. Now LinkedIn appears to be one that is getting a great deal of effort and a great deal of put in. Because not only are individual folks out there, but people are posting jobs out there as well and coming on through. LinkedIn appears to be a very, very strong possibility. And what do I have when I go to LinkedIn? I got another total list out there that I can apply to. Now, the big thing is that I cannot allow myself to get discouraged. This is a very tedious, very hard task. Much more difficult than it used to be in the past. It makes no difference what type of a degree you're coming out with. There are some, of course, that are more in demand than others. Engineering degrees are still in high demand. If you really want the big dollar job, you want to become a pharmacist. Okay? So there's several of them out here that are applicable to all of us, that bring in dollars and cents as well as other things. However, I need to have tunnel vision when I start going out here. I need to have tunnel vision. It is a fantastic thing to come through here, because if you go over to page 2 that I gave you, it's a very strong, a very simple, but a very direct statement right at the top. Behavior is success. Behavior is success. I have to make myself successful. No one else is going to do it for me. I'll come through 4 years of school here. I'll pick up all types of knowledge. A lot of the professors will provide me a lot of insights to a lot of things. But they're not going to go out and find me a job interview. They're not going to go out and do the interview for me. I have to do that on my own. And I have to be strong enough and good enough and consistent enough to make certain that I stick with it all the time. I cannot allow myself to become distressed. It's very easy to do. The other thing is, if I don't have a job, I need to keep busy. I must keep busy, even if I'm out there looking for something, okay? Now, when I say keep busy, it might be working part-time in a grocery store, or I can't even find one of those jobs. So perhaps what I need to do is volunteer. Maybe I need to volunteer at one of the city organizations, one of the hospitals, somewhere. I need to be doing something. It does 2 things for me. It keeps me active while I am looking, and the other thing it does for me is it gives me one more item to put on my resume. And when I'm graduating from school, every good thing that I have to put there is going to give me some additional value. Make any sense to you at all? You need to do that. It comes on in. You know, we look at things. We talk about goals and plans. Goals and plans. We need to have a goal. We need to have a plan. It is necessary. We cannot get anywhere without it. If you want to flounder, just don't do anything between now and the time you're ready to start looking. Just go ahead on a day-to-day basis. Get up in the morning, go through class, have your breakfast, your lunch, your dinner. When a day's over, call it a day. Take your tests when they come up, and that's it. But don't give any thought at all to what am I going to do when I'm finished here? What am I going to do when I no longer have those classes to go to every day? When I no longer have the people to assist me or guide me? I need to get out there, do it, and work on my own. It's necessity. I always have to be positive, okay? If I allow myself to become negative at any point in time, that is the start of just my being able to accomplish nothing. I always must be positive. I put a note down here at the bottom that says I have to dress for success. Let me ask you guys some questions here. The way I'm dressed right here tonight, you think that's a good way to go into a job interview? You think I'm set pretty well for a job interview? Okay. It looks nice, okay? But it's not correct. It's not correct because I have a suit. Now, it's not blue or it's not gray, but it'll pass as a business suit. That's acceptable, okay? I have cordovan shoes and a cordovan shirt. The shoes are great. The cordovan shirt doesn't belong. That shirt should be white. Okay? It should be white and clean and pressed. Necktie? What do you think? Think that's a good tie to be wearing? You know, the problem is that it's not. My necktie should be plain, simple, cut down, much more businesslike, not like I'm going to a party. Okay? I'm going out. Now, this all applies to the males, of course. Now, I'm going to ask you one last question. What do you think about my socks, gang? Huh? Do they fit? Do they fit? No, they don't fit. I should be wearing nice dark brown socks to go right along with my suit. Okay? Now, these may seem like they're very, very picky type things, but they're not. Because in this day and age, when you go in for that interview, you need to knock somebody's socks off as soon as you walk in the door. Okay? As soon as you walk in the door, and when they look at you, your suit is sharp, it's pressed, your shirt is clean, you got a nice tie, your shoes are shining, and you're standing straight, and you look great, your hair is trimmed, okay? Now what do I look like? I look like a professional person. I look like a professional person. And if I look better than the one that came in before me or the one that comes in after me, I'm in a good spot. Okay? So I need to be very, very particular, very, very careful. I need to watch this. Ladies, you need to be even more careful than we do. Okay? You need to be careful because when you go out on those job interviews, you should preferably be wearing a business suit, nice shoes, not those kind, but shoes that are comfortable and look good and fit in. You should be wearing nice color, nice blouses, okay? And you have an easier time than the men normally. Let's be honest. We know that most men are slobs, okay? And it's harder for them to get their act together than it is for all you young ladies to get your act together. But it is important. That can set you aside from other people. There are so many little things that set us aside from other people. Not even the big things, but the little things. The other thing is that when I'm looking at somebody, when I go in to talk to somebody, I got to look them right in the eye. Don't look up, don't look down, don't look left, don't look right. You've got to look at them square up, okay? You have to do that. That's important. And you don't have to look like a statue, right? You need to be relaxed. You need to be relaxed. You can smile, that's acceptable. You can be pleasant, that's acceptable, that's desirable. All of us fit into these patterns. That what happens, and one of the things that's wrong, I have one of my favorite words in my vocabulary is precedent. If anything disturbs me out here more than anything else, is precedent. Every time I find a significant difficulty somewhere in the environment of our company, 8 to 9 times out of 10, it's caused because somebody set a precedent in the past that was improper, and now it's causing a problem or difficulty. We set precedents. We set precedents of being exceptionally comfortable. How many of you in here are in the business college? Okay, you got to dress up occasionally, don't you? Okay, that's great. I wish that was something that went through the whole school, because it starts getting you ready for exactly what I'm talking about. It's putting you a little more on edge, getting you a little more of a jump there. It doesn't mean that I can't do these things on my own. I can. It's just that it becomes a little bit easier if somebody's pushing me a little bit once in a while, okay? And the other thing that really gets me, I come to a job fair here, which I do quite often, and here comes a young man. He's got on a nice blue suit, a white shirt, a tie. He really looks good. And then he comes up and it looks like he just walked through the cow pasture with his shoes, right? It's from head to toe. From head to toe always. Not just a part of me, but all of me, okay? All of me. Sometimes I take some of these things a little bit more, because even though it was a long time ago, well over 50 years ago, I spent some time in the military, and I still have some of my military grab-ons still reside up here between my ears. And that's one that always sits with me and always hits in there. So I think that if we learn and start working right now to determine professionalism, establish professionalism, make myself feel professional. Don't worry about what my roommate thinks if I put on a shirt and a tie today, or don't think about how somebody else is going to look at me or think about me. No. What's important is, what am I establishing for myself? What am I establishing for myself? And how will that affect me as I go forward, okay? How many of us truly put an honest effort into everything? Honest effort. When I say honest, I'm talking about, let's say, for example, I'm a very good student. Somehow things come to me pretty quickly, and I know that I have this week's work mastered, and I know when I go in for that test, I'm going to zap it, right? But I don't bother to go any further than that little bit. I've covered that. I haven't gone any further. I haven't really put out all the effort that I could put out. I really haven't directed myself as well as I can direct myself. So when you come through things, why do you think I talk about creativity? Why would I tell you that you need to be creative? Anybody have a thought? Yes, sir.
I would say be your own way, be yourself.
Exactly. You need to be you, not somebody else. And you need to make yourself different from everybody else. If everybody's the same, what is there to pick between us? What is there to pick between us? If I have 14 job applicants coming into my office, and they all come in and they all look great, and they're all business administration majors, and they're all 4.0 students, and they all have blonde hair, half of them are male and half of them are female, what's going to stand out? What's going to make one of them different for me? To all of a sudden say, Dick Galgano, that's the person you need to hire. Okay? There has to be something there. Creativity can be a lot of different things. It can be a lot of different things. And each one of us has the capability to make ourselves a little bit different than the other person. And that is what will make the difference when we get out here and we start looking out here. Establish a level of behavior, folks. Make that level of behavior really be good for you, okay? Now, I want to take a few minutes here and say that you've done a great job. You've gone out here, you've set up some networks, you've talked to some people, you've managed to get yourself a few interviews set up. You're going out on the interviews, right? Okay, what's important? I said they're a smooth interview, but I'm going to give you something a little bit prior to that. What is important, especially now, is that I know exactly what I want. I must know what it is that I'm looking for. If I go into a job interview and I'm an accounting major and I put on my app or I put on my objective, on my resume, a statement that simply says, I want an internship in accounting, or I'm looking for a job position in accounting, right? What does that tell somebody? Anybody tell me what it tells somebody? What does it tell the man that is doing the interviewing? It tells them that you're looking for a job, you're begging for a job because you don't know what it is that you want specifically. You didn't say I want cost accounting, you didn't say I want general accounting, you didn't say I want budget accounting. You didn't tell them what it was that you wanted. Okay? If you don't identify your need, you're not going to get anywhere. That's the very, very first thing you have to be set on in your own mind, is what exactly is it that I want and that I'm looking for. And someone says to me, well, Mr. Galgano, you know, you're going out here today, and it's tough. They might not want a cost account, or maybe it's pretty hard to find a specialty in whatever field that I am in. Therefore, if I put down I want this and it limits me and something else is available, they're not even going to think about me. Well, sometimes that might be a legitimate point, and that might be something to consider, all right? However, if I'm concerned about that, then I can come back and I can say in my resume or present in my resume and in the course of my interview the fact that, gee, you know what? I am looking for a job, a position, a general accounting position. I want to learn everything there is in all the different departments in your accounting setup in your company. I'd like to get some cost accounting, some budget accounting, some of this, some of that. So now, what are you telling them? You're telling that hiring individual that I want to learn what there is to know about your business. And I want to start at the beginning and go through it and learn all those things. So you're presenting something there. Creativity, gang, creativity. I can get what I want to get if I identify things, if I'm creative, if I think and put in some thought process. Okay? That's what I need to do. Now, so once I identify what it is that I want and the specificity that I want, the next thing I have to determine is what industry do I want to work in? Okay? What industry do I want to work in? Do I want to be in retail? Do I want to be in manufacturing? Do I want to be in distribution? Do I want to be in pharmaceuticals? Where is it that I want to be? What industry do I think I will fit into best? Because if I just float, not knowing, I don't have it. So I need to identify the industry that I want. This is a process, a development process. Once I've identified the industry, then what I need to know, what are the potential companies that I think will be good for me? How am I going to find that out? Who's going to tell me how you're going to find out what companies you might want to go to work for? Come on, somebody's got to know. Nobody? Come on, gang, some of you's got to know. What do you got the internet for? Huh? We're on that sucker every day. Get on that internet. Find the types of companies that are in the industry you want to work in. Once you find the company, then you can look and say, I have this group of companies. Then you can look at location. I would prefer to work in this geographic area or this geographic area. I can then narrow down the number of companies. But I can find them. I have to go out and find them. No one's going to give them to me. I have to find them, okay? It's just necessary. Once I find the company, what's next? Anybody know? I've now found 5 companies I'm interested in. What do I do now?
Research the companies, find out all about them.
Good. That's very good. I want to find out as much as I can about those 5 companies. I want to know when they started in business. I want to know what their structure is. I want to know who's running the business. I want to know what their incomes are. I want to know how many people work for them. I want to know as much information as I can find about those companies. Again, that helps me isolate and bring down a little bit more what I think would be good for me. Once I know that, what's my next step? I've researched the companies. Now who do I want? I want to know who the go-to people in those companies are, right? I need to know, who do I have to see in those companies? The go-to people, the important people, the people that are going to select people like me to work for them. Okay? Now, how do I do that? There's a zillion different ways of doing that. I have some of my own pet terms here. So when I say zillion, you just know that means a lot. Okay? But when we come through and we want to find out as much as we can about the real detail, I'm going to tell you a real live story, and you can take it for what it's worth. I was down here a couple years ago just doing critiques on resumes. A young lady came in to me and said, you know, I really don't need any help with my resume, but maybe you can help me with this. There's going to be a job opening at State Farm. It's only going to be an internship for the summer, but my understanding is they're going to interview 100 people. And I want that job. And I don't know how to get it, or I don't know how to go about getting it. So we talked for a while, and I outlined a little plan for her. I said, look, what you're going to do is you're going to call over to State Farm. You know what department you're going into. Find out who's in charge of that department. Talk to that person. Find out as much as you can about the organization, who that person reports to, how many people report to them, what happens, how the department works, how it goes up. When they give you some leads up, contact that person. Mr. X or Miss X, I was talking with. And can you help me out with how you're organized from this point up and how things work in the company? I said, once you do all of that research and you get that interview, which you're going to have, what you're going to do is you're going to go in and you're going to sit down and we're going to have a reverse interview, because you're going to interview the human resource person. They're not going to interview you, because you're going to know so much about that company and you're going to know everything that's out there to know. You're going to knock their socks off and you're going to be right up there. Okay? Now, that thing went along. All of a sudden, it must have been 6 or 7 weeks later, I got one email that said, I got the job. And that's how you can get a job. Okay? Why? Because she did something that 99 other people did not do. She worked very hard. She worked very diligently. She researched. She found out everything there was to find out about not only that job position, but organization, how the department was set up, how it ran up the company, and what was what. And when she went in, she had so much confidence. And she felt so good and knew so much that it was just an automatic type of thing. Real life story. And you know, there can be a lot of those out there if we will take advantage of them, okay? Finding key people. Finding key people. Very, very, very important. And see, I'm going to break here just a little bit and get out of normal bit here and say this. Gang, let me just get over here a little bit, okay? Because I want to figure out right now, real quick here, how I can emphasize something, okay? Years ago, I hate to tell you how many years ago. Years ago, there was a radio commercial. That was before TV. And this radio commercial was for Gillette razor blades. And this razor blade commercial went something like this. And it was a singing type commercial. I can't sing, so don't take me there. But it was, look sharp, feel sharp, be sharp, use Gillette blue edge blades. And that was it. Look sharp, feel sharp, be sharp. That's what you have to do. Look sharp, feel sharp, be sharp. But in order to get that in, we have to be a little bit outgoing, okay? We can't sit back and listen all the time. We have to come out and we have to be demonstrative. We have to say things. We have to talk to people. Do you ever talk to anyone? You do? Yeah. Okay. Do you ever ask any questions? Yeah. Everything I've said here tonight so far is just perfectly clear, and you couldn't think of a single question to ask me. And don't get me wrong, I'm not picking on you, I'm just using you as an example here of whatever. You see what I mean? You need to come out. I'm certain that I've said some things that you don't agree with, right? At least not completely. I know it. But you don't pick up and you don't question and you don't ask. So that's something that you've really got to work at. And you see, I'm here being friendly. I'm not going through 6 or 7 or 8 of you to pick one of you out for a job so that I can be very, very difficult and hard and tough, okay? No, I'm here being friendly. I'm here presenting some data, some information that hopefully is going to be of value to you. Hopefully it's going to be of value to you. But you have to help me. You have to help me because I can't do it alone, okay? The very, very essence of so many of the things, right? You know, we can fall flat on our face very easily. For example, if you don't succeed the first time, you're probably not meant to be a skydiver, right? Okay? I mean, that comes about, and that's sort of a truth that's easy to see. However, on the other hand, if I can get a true visual in my mind, and this is the most important part. When I've been through this now last year, this year, I do a lot of these at work when we bring in new people and for upgrades of people in the company. But you know what? I still go through my presentations mentally over and over and over and over in my mind, time and time and time again, to ensure that I feel good, I feel comfortable, I know it well, and I'm with it, okay? Now, all of you can have that same type of feeling. You know, they tell us that when we're getting ready for interviews, that we should practice. I agree, we should practice. And most people talk about practicing with somebody else and letting your friend listen to you or your neighbor or somebody, okay? And that's all right sometimes, but I like to feel that if I'm a good, sharp, intelligent person, I should be doing that practicing right up here. And the primary reasons being that I know me better than anybody else. I know what I want to say better than anyone else. And I know how I want to say it better than anyone else. So why should I let somebody else direct me in how to go through an interview? No, I shouldn't, because I should be the one that knows. And you know, when I go down there and I sit and I say, okay, here I am. I'm in the office right now. Brought me in. I know that when I sit down, I've got to sit properly. I need good structure, good solid seat there. And when that interviewer starts asking me questions, I need to be very calm, but I need to be very, very confident. Okay? And I don't let anything that they say to me throw me. Okay? What's the worst thing I can do before I answer a question? What should I do before I answer every question? Anybody got an idea? What? You got it. See, don't be afraid. Shoot it out. Yes, I should think. I should think before I answer every question. Okay? I'm not in a rapid fire situation. I'm in a situation where I want to feel confident that whatever I say is the correct thing for me to say. Nothing wrong with taking time to think. Nothing at all. And sometimes I can do two things while I'm doing that. My mind is going, what's your name? Tim. Okay, Tim is interviewing me. I look at him and say, gee, Tim, that's really a good question. You know, and while I'm just saying that, my answer is formulating. Right? I don't have to let there be dead silence. I can put out a thought to that person. And the chances are he'll look at it and say, gee, you know, I thought that was a terrible question. Well, you know, what's this guy doing? But it's giving me time to think. It's giving me time to think. And I don't need much a lot of times, just that split second, which is good. So when I go through these processes, you know, it is a real down here. Now, I want to hit on another point, two points really, which come through here. Every one of us has a story to tell. Every one of us. We have a story to tell about our life, about our education, about who we are, about what we've accomplished to this point in our life. We all have a story to tell. Now, we need to develop that story for ourselves. Okay? I'm one of 7 children, paid for my own education, boom, 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 whatever it might be. I've come along here. I've managed to accomplish this, and this in my lifetime, just to this point in time. I'm aggressive. I learn quickly. I do these. Put together my own story. I like to work with people. For the last 2 years, I've been working with handicapped children, in addition to doing my schoolwork, in addition to working a job. Everybody has a story. You need to put that story together. You need to formulate it. You need to put it in your mind so that you know what it is. And somebody says, well, gee, you know, I don't have a story. Not true. I defy anybody to say that they've been around for 21, 22 years and there's no story to their life. There is. Every one of us has a story. And we need to put that together, because when we're in an interview, it is more than just, they're going to throw questions at me and I'm going to answer questions, and they're going to throw questions. No. If that's happening, there's something wrong with it, and I have to find a way to break that and interject me. Okay? Interject me. Because you will find 2 types of interviewers out here primarily. Actually, there will be more. But primarily, you'll find 2 types. You'll find the one type who's been around, let's throw it out and say 5 years or more. And then you'll find the type who's been around 6 months, a year and a half, or whatever. Is there a difference? Yeah, there is a difference. There's a tremendous difference. I have to be able to recognize that. In fact, I can find out pretty easily. As I'm walking through the door and walking into his office, Jim, nice to meet you. Where did you go to school and when did you graduate? What does it tell me? Right? It tells me how old this guy is. It tells me what school he went to. It gives me a lot of information about him. Why should he know everything about me and I don't know anything about him? You see how the thought processes work? It works both ways. It works both ways. So that in my way of looking at things, and as I see things, I need to have that story. I need to put it together. I need to sit down and write it out. And say, how does it look? Now, what's extraneous and what isn't? What can I take out? What should be here and what shouldn't be here? Then I might sit down with someone I know and respect. Maybe my mother, maybe my father, maybe a professor at school, maybe somebody that I could say, what do you think? Read this and give me your thoughts. Okay? And just get a little polish on it in that way. But I'm the one that has to pull that together. Now, I'm going to give you what I think is the biggest problem I've seen. There it is right there. People coming into interviews and doing what? What did you just do, pal? You just yawned, right? Folks, the biggest thing you have to do, especially when you're going on interviews, is get enough sleep. You have to sleep. Believe me, you do. That's the only thing that's going to make you sharp. That's going to keep you up there. If you stay up pulling an all-nighter and then go for an interview at 1 o'clock tomorrow afternoon, you're not going to do very well. I guarantee you won't do very well. It's probably a waste of time. Okay? Sleep. The one thing none of us do, and college students are the worst at it, is get enough sleep. Okay? Sleep. So remember, during the interviewing process, I need to get adequate quantities of sleep. I need to. It's a must. It will make me such a better person in that interview than I'll ever realize. Okay? But I guarantee if you want to blow the interview, go in half asleep. Go in half asleep and you'll never make it. You'll never make it. You'll never get it. And if you stop to think about it, it makes a lot of sense. That in order for me to really do well, I have to be mentally sharp. Mentally sharp. I must be. It's a necessity. So get that sleep, gang, and get used to it. I mean, we need to be there. I need to have emotional control of myself. Emotional control of myself. What does that mean? That means something like this. I'm going in for an interview and I'm sitting out in a room out here waiting, and all of a sudden some young man comes out or young lady comes out and says, come on into my office, and looks at me sort of stern and isn't nice, doesn't reach out to shake my hand, doesn't do anything. And while I'm walking into her office, what I'm thinking is, what kind of a jerk have I run into here? Okay? This person doesn't know how to handle people. This interview is going to be a waste of time. This interview is going to be whatever. So what have I done? I've disturbed myself emotionally. Now, I have to be a big enough person to look at something like that and say, very basically, I understand. She probably already had 40 interviews today. They're really going, and I can make some mental excuses for it, but make certain that it does not throw me out of track. Okay? Remember, when I go to an interview, who's that about? It's not about the interviewer, is it? It's about me. It's about me. And I have to make certain that it goes the way I need it to go to be positive for me. So I need to make certain that I'm in emotional control all the time. I don't want to be too high so that all of a sudden I'm talking so fast that nobody can understand what I'm talking about, right? That happens at times. If you notice, when people get excited when they're too high, they talk fast. I don't want to be so low that they think I'm sleeping, okay? I want to be at a nice, equal term here. I want to be in a position to where I am very, very, very communicative. Everything I say is nice and clean and well understood. I get my points across, and I make them, right? Remember, in that interview, all that I can do is present myself to the best of my ability. To the best of my ability. And this is why everything that I do prior to that point in time is so important to me. It's so important to me. I have to prepare well. I have to be more ready. More that's out here. I can't say practice enough. Practice enough. If you're a junior right now, you should be practicing your interviews for the next 2 years. You should. You know, why wait till the last minute? Why wait? All of a sudden, you come down here for resume reviews, and you get a senior come in. You're out here in September, and they're graduating in December, and they've never looked at done a resume interview before, right? Or you come up in the spring, and someone's going to graduate in 2 months, and they've never done a resume before. They expect somebody in the career center or somebody that's working out with them to do a miracle and make up for me in the next 2 hours or next hour and a half what I haven't done in the last 4 years. It doesn't work that way. It does not work that way. Okay? Who can tell me right now, after listening this long, and I certainly hope somebody's got something to say, can you pick out 2 things that I've said that you think make a lot of sense to you? Anybody? Yes, sir.
Research the company that you want.
Say it a little louder, please.
Research the company that you're going to interview with.
Okay.
And then take charge of the interview.
That's excellent. That's very good. Those are 2 very important points. Somebody over here.
Preparing your self-story so it separates you from everyone else. Gives you
Right.
creative ideas.
Make yourself unique. Be creative. Yes.
The dress attire.
Pardon me?
The dress attire.
Oh, the dress attire. Yes. That is more important than most of us ever think about. Okay? It is important. And we need to look towards that at all times. We need to be ready for it. It's one thing to have a nice suit, but it's something else that if it's not pressed and looks like I slept in it for 2 or 3 nights, what good does it do me? Right? It's got to have sharp creases. It's got to be clean. It's got to look good. Those are the important. Who else has got something? Come on. We said a lot of things here. Yes, ma'am.
Practice the interview with yourself because you know what you want to say.
Practice the interview with yourself. Exactly. Mental. Play and replay. Just like Pete and repeat. Play and replay. And play it over and over. And not only play it, but see it. See it. You can imagine that you have an interviewer there. In fact, if you really want to be clever, You can practice sometimes with a female interviewer and sometimes with a male interviewer, okay? Seriously. Because all of a sudden you might go in and you might feel that it's a little stranger for you to be interviewed by a man than it is by a woman, or vice versa. Okay? So, yes, that's great. Practice, practice, practice. Anything else?
Think before you answer the questions.
Good. Very, very good. Always be thinking during the interview process, and do not answer a question without thinking about the answer. Now, what happens if you don't have the answer at the tip of your tongue? Who wants to tell me? What do I do if I don't have the answer at the tip of my tongue? That's a good question.
Say something like that in a thought.
Yes, yes, exactly. Okay, the thing I need to do then is I need to give my interviewer something to think about while I'm getting my thought ready to bring out, right? So, there's a lot of different ways of doing that. Gee, that's really a good question. I need just a moment to think about it. You know, I've had that happen to me several times, or whatever. Or, I appreciate your looking into that area, and anything that just gives you something to work with, right? Very, very good. Good. Okay, this is the thing. Hopefully, when you pull these things together, you'll look at these and say that, you know what? Whether I realize it or not, I actually learned something here in this hour that I didn't know before. I sure hope so. I sure hope so. Because otherwise, I've driven 100 miles down here and 100 miles back home, and you know, I haven't really accomplished anything. So, accomplishment is in the result. Now, remember I said you always have to be calm. You always have to practice. You always want to be confident. You always want to think positive. All of these things are great, you know, and they are not just words. This is what we have to truly realize, is that they are not just words. We have a whole future right here, palm of our hand, when we're ready to leave school. We've got it there. Now, if you remember, way up front, I had the one statement in there that said, behavior equals success. Behavior equals success. Now, that means I have to start gearing my behavior to success. How many seniors? How many juniors? Sophomores? Any freshmen? Okay, now, it's never too young, never too early in school to start, to begin, to get myself in the process of making my behavior lead to what I want my success to be. And if I happen to be a senior, if I'm graduating in December, or if I'm graduating in the following June, then I should really get to work and concentrate on assuring that my behavior is going to make me a success. My behavior is going to make me a success. And as long as I remember that it is not going to be automatic, it's not going to be like falling off a log, that it is going to take a lot of hard work and a lot of effort. I need to maintain those thoughts up here, because otherwise I will become what? Anybody know? What's going to happen? What am I going to become If I don't do anything. If I just sit around, I'm sure I had it here somewhere. Pardon? A loser? That's a good one. I didn't have that word in here somewhere, pal, but that one fits in pretty good. So remember, when you leave an interview, be cordial. Be very, very cordial. Be thankful. Be aware of the person who has spent time with you. Be aware that you have had an opportunity. When you leave that interview, do a mental review as quickly as possible. Can I think of anything that I did that I should not have done? Can I think of anything that I didn't do that I should have done? Okay? Did I handle myself well or not? And I'm going to go through that exercise because when I have another interview, if I made any mistakes, I don't want to make the same ones again. Okay? And no one's going to know except me. Because no one's in that interview room except myself and the interviewer. So I have to be very honest with myself. Very honest with myself. The hardest thing to do is critique ourselves. The hardest thing to do is to say, I didn't do it right. Because we all believe that we're perfect. That's just human nature. But I have to get through that bit and I have to truly analyze myself. I guess that about wraps it up for tonight. Anybody remember I told you that on each one of those sheets you have one of my business cards? If you want to send me an email, if you want to make an inquiry, I'll be more than happy to respond and answer any questions or any thoughts that you might have after the fact. Good luck to all of you, and I hope you have a great rest of the semester.